The first knock on my door that changed everything wasn't from a friend, a neighbor, or even law enforcement. It was from a man dressed like a cop. Badge, vest, the whole performance. But the second I saw him, I knew something was off. He wasn't a deputy. He wasn't even security. He was an HOA cop, a fake enforcer from the subdivision down the road. Before we dive in, comment which country you're watching from. Let's see how far this story travels. I bought my house in Brookside Estates because it promised normalcy. Tree-lined streets, kids riding bikes, neighbors waving at each other over mailboxes. It was supposed to be the kind of neighborhood where drama never made it past the front porch. But peace doesn't last long when an HOA decides it runs the block like a private army. And it got worse the day one of their so-called cops showed up at my door. The guy was in his late 30s, maybe early 40s. He had the buzz cut, the tactical vest with big block letters, and even a shiny badge clipped on his belt. From 10 feet away, he might have passed for a real officer. But up close, I noticed the badge didn't list a county or state. It just said HOA Enforcement Division. That was my first red flag. "Morning," he said, voice clipped like he was trying to sound official. "We've had some complaints about your property. I'm here to issue a compliance check." I raised an eyebrow. "Complaints? About what?" He shifted his weight, trying to look intimidating. "Your lawn height, improper waste bin placement, and possible violations of the parking covenant." He glanced over his clipboard like he was reading off charges. But what really caught my attention was the way his right hand hovered near his hip, like he wanted me to notice the firearm strapped there. That was red flag number 2. Legit cops don't hint at their weapons just to make a point. "Listen," I said evenly, "you're not county, and you're sure as hell not law enforcement. You've got no business knocking on my door and trying to act like you are." His jaw tightened. "Sir, refusal to comply can result in fines, liens, and escalation. I suggest you cooperate. This neighborhood is under HOA protection." I almost laughed. HOA protection? That wasn't a thing. He might have fooled someone else, an elderly neighbor, maybe a nervous young family, but not me. I knew the law well enough to know he was bluffing. Still, the gun on his hip made this more than just a bluff. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about a lawn or a trash bin. This was intimidation. They wanted me scared. They wanted me to fold. But what he didn't know was that my son had someone staying with us for a while. Someone who didn't scare easily. The fake cop didn't flinch when I told him he had no authority. He just leaned in a little closer, like he wanted me to feel his shadow on my porch. "You've been warned," he said, tapping the butt of his baton against his leg. "The HOA doesn't tolerate non-compliance. Next time, we'll escalate." With that, he gave me one last smirk, turned on his heel, and walked back toward his truck. The tires crunched against the curb as he pulled away, leaving me standing in my doorway with my blood boiling. I didn't waste a second. I drove straight to the county sheriff's office. The deputy at the desk listened patiently as I laid everything out: the fake badge, the intimidation, the gun on his hip. "Sir," he said carefully, "if what you're saying is true, he's impersonating a peace officer. Under Texas Penal Code 37.111, that's a felony. And if he threatened you with that weapon, that could also fall under 22.01, assault by threat. We'll document this and start a file." I nodded, but I could tell from his tone they weren't about to send a SWAT team after an HOA. Paperwork came first. I filed the report anyway. If they wanted escalation, I'd make sure the law had my side of the story when it came. 2 days later, escalation came knocking. This time, not one but two of them showed up. Same tactical vests, same cheap badges, same smug grins. They marched right up my driveway like they owned the place, one of them already flicking a baton against his palm. I stepped outside before they could bang on the door. "You're trespassing," I told them flatly. "The sheriff already has a report on you. Leave now." The taller one, Carl, I remembered from the first visit, sneered. "Reports don't mean anything. You think the county cares about your lawn violations? You're under HOA jurisdiction. That means you follow our rules." I crossed my arms. "My property isn't part of your HOA. It never has been. And if you step 1 foot closer, you're committing criminal trespass again. Texas Penal Code 30.05. I suggest you look it up." The shorter one barked a laugh. "Big talk. Let's see how tough you sound with a busted rib." Before I could react, his baton whipped across my side. White-hot pain exploded through my ribs and I staggered back, barely catching myself on the railing. That was their mistake. The door behind me swung open, and a shadow filled the porch light. Marcus, my son's bodyguard, stepped forward, towering over the two wannabe cops. His stance was calm, but his eyes burned with the kind of controlled fury you only see in men who've spent their lives facing down real violence. "Step away from him," Marcus said, voice like gravel. Carl tried to laugh it off, but I saw the flicker of fear cross his face. He wasn't staring at a homeowner anymore. He was staring at a man who had been trained to end fights before they started. And for the first time, the HOA's fake cops realized they had just picked the wrong house. If you're enjoying this HOA story so far, like and subscribe because the story is only going to get better. Marcus didn't waste a second. The first guy barely lifted his baton before Marcus seized his wrist and twisted hard. Bone cracked, clean and sharp, and the weapon clattered onto the driveway. The man screamed, clutching his arm, but Marcus drove a knee into his ribs and shoved him face first onto the truck hood. I heard another crunch. Later, doctors would confirm 3 ribs shattered. Carl tried to blindside Marcus, baton raised, but Marcus spun, blocked, and hammered an elbow into Carl's jaw. The sound was sickening, like a thick branch snapping. Carl dropped to his knees, groaning, blood streaming from his mouth. Marcus grabbed the back of his vest and flung him flat onto the pavement. His head bounced off the asphalt with a hollow thud. The neighborhood went dead silent. Curtains twitched. Porch lights blinked on. For months, everyone had watched these two strut around in their fake uniforms, shaking people down with threats. Now they were reduced to broken heaps under Marcus's fists. Marcus planted his knee into Carl's spine, pinning him. "You're done," he growled. "Impersonating a peace officer is a third-degree felony under Texas Penal Code 37.11. Assault with a deadly weapon, second-degree felony. Trespassing with intent to intimidate, another charge." Carl wheezed, trying to spit words through broken teeth. His partner just whimpered, clutching his ribs. Within minutes, real sirens cut through the driveway. A county cruiser rolled up, lights flashing. The deputies jumped out, weapons drawn at first, until they saw Marcus standing calm, hands raised, and the 2 fake cops sprawled on the ground, their bogus vests reading HOA. "What in the hell is this?" one deputy demanded. I raised my voice so every neighbor could hear. "These men trespassed. They assaulted me with a baton. They've been impersonating police officers under the HOA's orders, and now the whole street saw it." The deputies didn't waste time. They cuffed both men, read them their rights, and tossed them into the back of the cruiser. But first, paramedics arrived. The short one had a fractured wrist, 3 broken ribs, and internal bruising. Hospital stay, 9 days. Carl had a shattered jawbone, 2 broken fingers, and a mild concussion, 12 days in recovery, jaw wired shut the whole time. The charges stuck. Each man was indicted on impersonating a public servant, felony 3, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, felony 2, criminal trespass, misdemeanor A, conspiracy to commit fraudulent collection linked to the HOA's orders. When the news spread, the neighborhood turned overnight. People who once cowered now stood taller, knowing the HOA's thugs were gone. And the board? They couldn't slither out of this one. The DA's office subpoenaed their communications. Every order, every text telling those goons to remind homeowners who's in charge came to light. The fake cops left the hospital only to walk straight into court hearings, faces swollen, jaws wired, arms in casts. The judge denied them bail, flight risk and public safety concern. The HOA itself collapsed under fines and lawsuits, dissolved within months. I'll never forget the sight. Marcus standing calm and steady, while 2 men who thought intimidation made them powerful were hauled away, broken, humiliated, and facing decades behind bars. Because that day proved the simple truth. Uniforms don't make you law enforcement, and fists don't beat training.